Daily dose of growth, social help ish, I guess, hostages, Israeli Hamas war. I don't know what to tell you. So it was 2 days ago. I got the benefit, benefit of being able to. Oh, God, hold on 1 second. Okay, so sorry, I had to turn off my timer or whatever. So two of the hostages, it was a couple. I believe they're both Israeli. The guy was born in Russia, moved to Israel when he was young. The woman was Jewish and Israeli, and I would say rather devout Jew. He actually did not know if he believed in God. So kind of cool. That whole aspect is that they were dating. Pretty sure it was 2 years. This is all Googleable. You can look it all up, and if you really care that much. So I don't know why or how they chose to come to this little island. Maybe the Free Palestine protests in a lot of the larger cities kept them at bay. I'm not sure, but we were really lucky to have them here. So they sit down, and the rabbi in one of our local chapters goes and he can start. I mean, they start questions. Very few questions. A lot of recounting of the story. So it was pretty. Oh man, it was powerful. It was powerful. So the woman, I think, was a hostage. The first off, they talk about their account of being captive, right? Of actually being. Sorry, I got a tripod for the first time. I'm trying to make it all look nice. All right. So the woman and him both get captured. During the capturing, he gets shot in both of his legs because he tries to run. And his thought process is also remember that he was captive for like a year and a half. She was captive, I think, like 3 or 4 months. So everything they're telling is also, I mean, they went through shitloads of shock, PTSD, all this kind of stuff. So his reasoning and her reasoning, they may not even know why they did it, but he says that he ran to try to create a distraction, hopefully that she could run and get away. The whole time they heard all this, they thought it was the Israeli army. And so they thought that maybe there was like 8 to 10 Hamas fighters in the city, and that it was a small attack. They heard all the sirens, they hid, and they didn't really have time to hide well. I guess their parents have a shelter. How crazy would that be to live somewhere where you have to have like a bomb shelter or like a shelter to hide from being attacked at all times? I mean, clearly on this island, we don't have we. Even if America were to go to war on American soil, we wouldn't really have that much to worry about. Nobody is going to take this island. But the thought of having like, okay, I'm going to purchase a new home. Okay, well, I need a shelter in case we get bombed. Kind of a mind blowing thing that I mean, in all of America, you don't really expect that. Um, so parents had a shelter, so they like, hid in their bedroom, something like that, and then obviously they were like, we got caught, so they run through thousands of different possibilities in their mind. Should have hid in the pool, should have hid behind a tree, should have hid outside, should have hid inside, should have just booked it. Hindsight's 2020, millions of things. So, um, couple huge key points. One of the big ones was let's bring God into this. So they talked about how she was thinking, no, he's a great man, he's perfect, but I don't know how we can go forward if he doesn't believe in God, let alone is Jewish. I assume that she wants him to be Jewish as well. So he lived his life as atheist or agnostic, or maybe just believed in a God but just didn't practice. Um, and so now here comes this time where he's spending a year and a half as a hostage. And he like, sometimes it was him and the guards sharing a can of beans. That was their food. For 8 to 9 months, he was underground in the tunnel. And obviously he can't keep track of time that well. I think he said he kept getting updates occasionally, and they would give him the list of released hostages. So his mother and his grandma and his girlfriend, he knew when they got released. Luckily, his father was killed the day that he was captured. Can you imagine You have a bunch of you think it's gonna be 8 to 10, people coming to capture you. Turns out there's like hundreds of them. You try to run to save your girlfriend, you get shot in the legs. Both of them said when they crossed into Gaza that the civilians there gang beat them, so they like tossed him into the street. And he said that there was 20 people that just kicked him and punched him and beat him up. And then she said the same thing. And you're sitting there going, I guess he may not have known his father died that moment. Um, that's possible. So now you're sitting 8 to 9 months. He's in their tunnels. And so he's like, it's 12 hours a day. It's pitch black. And you just sit there with a guard, and the guard sits there. And he's like, and when you put the bathroom is that corner. He's like, at some point you use it. I didn't see the sun for 9 months, 8 months. Using the bathroom in the same room. Eventually, get used to the smell. I showered maybe once every month. Um, Freaking horrifying. Just living underground in a tunnel for 9 months. Wow. So at the end of all of this, you know, she's stuck around. So he was what rather I guess you would call it famous, but he was on the news as a hostage, and saying things. I guess he was like the proof that there was still there. And so I guess the first two times he was on TV, he mentioned his girlfriend, and then like the third time he didn't. And his idea was like, hey, I don't think I'm making it out alive. Move on, go be with someone else. I don't want you hung up on me. And so she was a little bit upset about the third time, but also had the same feeling that he had. But she basically lived with his mom and stayed and I don't even know how you can just live your life knowing that your boyfriend of 2 or 3 years is stuck in as a prisoner of war. Oh, I was gonna do this yesterday, but I was still too emotional from meeting them, and thought I had calmed down today, but I can feel some of it coming. So big thoughts as a God. We said let's bring God into this. So when he finally gets released, everyone thinks, oh, he's gonna hate God. He went through these 8 months of living in a tunnel, and he's like, dude, God doesn't exist. He would have saved me. The opposite actually happened, which is somewhat fascinating. Is he believes even harder. One of the first things they said when they connected is he goes, I see what you believe. God is real. And I guess God got him through it. And he said he saw a lot of personal miracles while during his captivity. He went over a couple of them, and he said that he just saw it all the time, personal little miracles that made him go from atheist slash agnostic into a believer. And so the setting, it was a rabbi on this island that invited them and made it all happen. So kudos to Alster. Um, yeah, it was fascinating. I learned it was great for me. It was fun to I learned about I guess it's another sect of Judaism. Um, a little bit different than we have one of like the second oldest synagogue in the Western Hemisphere on this island, which is our little claim to fame. And so he has a different type of Judaism. I don't know enough about it. I'm gonna grab coffee with him soon and go hang out and learn all about him and his life and how things work and be more fascinated and grow more there because I think he talks to me a lot about my religion. I said I think I'm pro religion. I think all religions in the ultimate are good. And I study a lot of them, and I meet a lot of people from a lot of religions. But I don't know if I really adhere to any of them. I really like to like just piece little bits of them together, like a little multi-religion, like a little Rubik's cube. Um, yeah, so that was fun. So back to the story. All right, so big takeaway was that he actually became more religious and became and somehow started believing in God more because I know tons of people that would refute God if they had to go through that experience. Um, Wild. Oh, there. This is the biggest point. Okay, okay. This is like the whole purpose of the video. Maybe not. I don't even know. But this is the biggest point we got right here. Sorry, let me check the chat and see if there's anything. I will talk to you later. No, okay, nothing I need to talk about. Right. So here's the biggest scoop of it all, and it's what I've been saying for years. So at one point, a guard started bringing his daughter down. His daughter was 2 or 3. In the beginning, she was shy and wouldn't talk to the Israeli prisoner. Um, and I guess I believe I'll have to rewatch it live. I believe she would like hit him and be like I hate you or you're mean, something like that. And so after time, eventually, he's got nothing else to do. The daughter's down there with the guard. The guard's, trying to feed his family, yada yada. Sorry, there is 3 points. I remember the third one now, which is also important. Man, these points are great. All right, so first point is went through a crazy harrowing experience and found God and is now a devout Jew and God believer. Cool, crazy. Wouldn't have seen that coming. Second is this. So the daughter is playing with him after a few times. First few times it's like animosity, right? She's I believe Palestinian with Hamas, and she like hits him, and I 2 years old, so there's not a whole lot she can really do, but obviously it's not happening. Instead, it took about a month of spending time. I mean, they're in a tunnel underground, so it's not a whole lot to do. And eventually he starts like playing with her, giggling. I think maybe they had a ball there, they were playing catch or something like that. Um, and then the guard, so the Israeli prisoner ended up learning Arabic. I mean, what else are you gonna do, right? They all speak Arabic. He speaks Hebrew, which is somewhat kind of close. So he started learning Arabic between all the chatter and that, so he could hear. He wanted to hear on the radio what was happening uh, they were speaking. So she started talking to him, and at the end, she gave him a big hug, and so it was kind of like, and so he got asked directly, like, what's your opinion of that? And something that I say all the time, and I very much believe it. I created an entire show for it. I spend like almost all my time nowadays teaching and educating. Is he goes, it's just education. She didn't know. She's been taught and told to hate Jews, to hate Israelis, her whole life. And then when she meets one to one, which is, oh man, that's one of my favorite things, is racism and sexism are so difficult to have one on one. It's really hard to hate someone that you're having a beer with or having a coffee with. Um, I'm sure it happens, but it's really hard. If I grew up hating Jews and I went and just had a beer with a Jew, you would find so much in common and so much more stuff, and it's wild. And so it's hard. I mean, we get built these little bubbles. We follow only the people we want to follow on social media. We create our own little, we reinforce our own beliefs. And so what he was talking about is, they're trying, and to be honest, I think the Hamas guards might have not hated Jews as much after this experience with him. He's a pretty cool guy, and obviously he wasn't doing anything. He's a prisoner, so. But he talked to him, and for 8 months talking to the same person over and over, it would be really hard to hate him, unless it's like I guess Hitler. I mean, I guess Hitler, Putin, those guys you could, but it'd be really hard to talk to someone over and over. They could annoy you, they could bug you, different opinions. It'd be really hard to like meet someone that you have to talk to for 12 hours a day, 8 months in a row. At some point, you're like, dude, yeah, all right, we all like beer. Oh, we all like sandwiches. Like, it'd be so hard. So he was talking about how, they get educated and they're born and they're led to hate them. And a lot of them, that's their only like job. And so that leads me into my next point, right? I don't know. It's the point I'm going to. So I hope. And so he talks about education, and that's why they hate him. And it goes both ways, right? Okay, this story is about an Israeli prisoner. Maybe Hamas prisoners had a little bit better of a life. Maybe they had a cell above ground. I don't know, but it goes the same way. I'm sure Israeli guards that were housing him, started hating him, but if they learned their language and talk, and it's hard to converse with someone for 8 months and have hate. Um, you definitely have annoyances, and it's hard to have hate. So that brought me to another point. So there's a guy, I already forgot his name, made billions of dollars, and they decided to figure out how to change it. So his argument is terrorism starts from education, from being uneducated, right? And a lot of them, their only job is to just like be a terrorist. So they get funded by these governments, by the U.S., as well as other governments. They get funded by them, so that's their job is to go and cause mayhem and do whatever they're supposed to do. And it's because they're not educated. Just get taught hate America, hate America, hate America. That's one thing he said too. The guards really hated America, and that Israel was like the little brother. He's like, well, why don't you guys attack Israel? And they said they quoted a scripture from their religious text. I believe it. Yeah, I believe it must be the Quran. But they said, when your enemy is much stronger than you, you wait and you gather strength. You attack when you're ready. So that's why they decided to attack Israel now because that's all they can. Eventually, they work on those strength according to this guard. And then America is the real problem. We fund Israel. We have Israel's back, or whatever you want to say about that. So that was one thing he said too. And all of this, the whole interview is live or not live. It's on my profile. You can go watch it. It's about an hour long, and you can hear both of their accounts of everything that happened. Yeah. So that brings me to the third point is where so this billionaire decided that terrorism comes from being uneducated. So instead of being like an American and going into a community and saying, "Hey, I'm here to educate you. We're building this. We have money. Come in. We'll teach you all this stuff." I don't think that would work very well, and he also agrees. So what he does is he finds the 10, 15 people in the city that are really trying to push change. Usually teachers, principals, community leaders, and then he talks to them and, hey, tell me about this, tell me about that, yada yada. And if that it gets them on board, so then he creates this community center with like 10 to 15 people that are ready for change. And for him, I'm 85% sure he keeps all politics out. He just says we just need to educate them, math, science, whatever it is. Let's teach as many people as possible. So he funds all of this. I'm sure at this point he gets donations and sponsors, just like any NGO or any nonprofit. And so then he uses their own leaders in the community, and that attracts, people, uneducated children, uneducated parents who want to educate their children into it. So now it becomes like it's all about the learning education, not about this or that or political ideology, whatever it is. It's all about getting children to learn from their own community leaders in like their own way. And so that's how he has solved it. If you have questions about that, let me know. I have a brain fart right now. It's been a long day, but I can get you info for that nonprofit. If you're interested in the names of the hostages that we talked to, um, man, yeah, that was a crazy story. So then afterwards, we all go to the Habat, which is like the community center. And yeah, I mean, I got a picture with him and I talked to him, and wildly, it's just crazy to think that what they had to go through. Oh, and they were he had not proposed, and we joked about it. And the rabbi even was like, "Well, the Virgin Islands is a really nice place to get proposed," and they did. They got proposed either today or yesterday, so they got engaged. So good for them. I mean, come on. You're in a if you're in a tunnel for 9 months and you have a woman outside waiting for you. You are one lucky man, and you better wipe that up. But they were really, yeah. I mean, they had humor. They tried to laugh a lot. I'm sure telling this story over and over again has desensitized them a bit. Um, and I'm sure they have their exact visions they saw to piece their story together. But I mean, that's something you gotta live with the rest of your life. It's gonna be crazy. I have no idea how to do it. All right, 3 points. First one was that he spent a year and a half as a hostage and came to find God and started believing it through personal miracles he witnessed during that time. Very interesting. Second is that being face to face with a Hamas guard and his child, they were able to grow, and the child gave him a hug, even after her entire life being taught that Jews and Israelis are the enemy. Was able to meet one on one, get some of that difference gone, which it's impossible to meet one on one with everyone in the world to remove hate. So how do we do that on a bigger scale? How do we, you know, get rid of anti-Semitism, racism, sexism, even ageism or handicapism or all those other isms. If we can't do it one on one, can we do it 5 on 5? Can we do it 1 on 100? I don't know. I think there's a lot of people trying to fix that. It's going to take a lot of time and education. And then the third thing is education. A lot of, I think a lot of racism, a lot of all those isms, including terrorism. I guess that's an ism I don't usually talk about much. Comes from that. And so we have, big rich billionaire going around trying to solve some isms, just giving systems, policies, money, obviously, and ways to do things, and teaching community leaders, giving them the power and the ability and the capacity to go and make even bigger effects in the communities, which is, I think, actually probably one of the coolest causes out there. Is just going and helping everyone by the masses. And I don't remember the name of that nonprofit, but it's really cool, and I can get it to you if you want it. So, on that note, I only teared up once.